So I don't know how long you're planning on ignoring me for, and I don't know if you're going to start talking to me in October. But I just made a video about Moses using the same video documentary that I used on 3 other videos, and yet for some reason it came up as a copy strike, and that video has been blocked. Not too sure if you blocked it because you don't like something I've said in it, or if it is actually just a section of the film that has been blocked when the other sections weren't blocked. I'm not too sure. But I'm not going to try and re-edit it or put it back up. People aren't watching my videos, or according to the counts, they aren't watching my videos anyway. So, but I've just come across a video now that is talking about ancient, because I've given up on the Moses film. It was bugging me too much how I was hearing all these people talk as if the film was real, and you know when you know something isn't real, but the people in the documentary are talking like it is real. So imagine you know your life, and you know what you've done or what you haven't done, and then someone starts making documentaries about your life and then talking about you, talking for you. It seemed to imply that you did do all this stuff, and you're just thinking, no, I didn't. And if you can't get your voice heard, like I'm making these videos and I want people to hear me, but my view count is not high, and therefore I feel like I'm just wanting to insult them. I'm just wanting to insult them and be really kind of rude towards it. How could you be so stupid to believe this? If I felt like I was talking to people and I was getting a response, I wouldn't feel so angered by it. But because I feel like I'm just talking and trying to give my side, no, I didn't do this, he wasn't my guy, I didn't, this is all just, fictional character, this is just a fictional character. The difference between Moses and Hercules was Hercules is more obviously not a true story. It's based on complete fictional and gods that no longer are worshipped. Moses worshipped one god, and because people still worship one god, and his story is slightly more of a mortal, it's more believable, and therefore people have assumed, because it's more believable, I'm going to believe it. And then they're talking for God. Oh, God did this and God did this, and I didn't. This is all nonsense, and it's frustrating how I have so much that I want to say, and I feel like I'm not being heard because I have no clue who's actually watching, and if people are watching, why they are ignoring me for such a long time. So I am getting very frustrated with that. So, I would like to do a documentary about Moses, but maybe it should be redone. And instead of just having just religious people, just people that believe that this is a true story, have atheists in there. Tell the story, and then get a different. How Gogglebox, and there's people like reacting to it. Maybe you should do it like that, but tell them that someone who thinks that they are God is also going to watch your videos and respond back. I don't know. It might be unfair to take their clips and then just have me being like, I didn't say that, because it's going to be showing that I'm very frustrated with what these people are saying. Oh, God chooses these people for a reason, and it's just everything in it was just like, no, I wouldn't do this. What, I'm going to kill all the animals because he didn't let these people go? I actually sided. I was watching that film, and I was siding with the leader. I actually thought he was quite reasonable. What kind of life are these people going to live in the desert? They're going to starve, they're going to die, and therefore, in a way, there's another perspective, which was that he generally thought that he was doing the Hebrews a favour, and I'm sure he would have said, if you work your life and help build lots of houses, one day you'll get to live in these houses. They were cutting out stones, and okay, it was a small work. There would have been a lot more jobs. I'm sure they all would have worked. I'm sure all the people in these areas in this village would have had their different jobs. Some would have provided food, some would have looked after cattle, some would have I'm sure there would have been, some of them probably would have been beating the people up to get them to cut the stones, because the stones are probably the hardest work, and it's probably the job that people didn't really want to do. So I'm sure that there was a lot of forced labour, and I'm not saying that it's right or anything, but eventually these people would have worked their way up and would have got to be the owners. They would have realised that we need new slaves. These slaves are more skilled now, they're on to the next job, and they would have gone to nearby villages, burnt down their tree houses, and would have taken them as slaves, and then you would have had a whole new bunch of captives, and you would have let the people that have worked the hardest, you would have let them into the villages. This is how a society built. They got people at the bottom who didn't do stuff, and they said, hey, we'll forcibly bring you into this town, you'll have much nicer clothes, much nicer housing, much nicer food, and you'll learn lots of stuff. The downside is we're going to force you to cut stones and do the jobs that no one wants to do. But after they've done that for a long time, they would have gone out to seek more workers, and then they would have been like, well, we're going to give the newbies, the ones that haven't been working a lot, we're going to give those the jobs that no one wants to do. And it's a hierarchy, and it was caused by by forced labor, a lot of it. But if you look at the reality, okay, so in this life now, my higher self would favor the older souls, the souls that I've had. If you've been through war in the Tudor times, or if you were one of these slaves in Egyptian culture, forced to cut stones and live a horrible, miserable life, if God is going to choose someone to be a multimillionaire, she's going to look back at the people's past, and she's going to be choosing the people that have worked their way up. And okay, people in the Egyptian times, the ones at the top were not great people, but the world didn't start with these Egyptians. I found this ancient apocalypse season, and I'll just show a little bit of what I'm talking about.
Columnar joint is imported from another region, from another location.
So look at all these stones that they've cut
every
out.
One of these blocks, up to 50,000 of them,
50,000
each
blocks.
weighing up to a third of a ton, were carried up this hill. When Dr. Akbar's team first surveyed the site, they quickly found evidence that humans had been present in what's called a cultural lair, but not where they expected.
We are very surprised that this site consists of two cultural layers. The first layer on the surface, it's from 500 BC. But at 4 meters depth, we found another cultural layer. It is from 5,200 BC.
So this village is basically from 5000 BC. Moses was around 1600 BC. So when Moses came around, okay, he might have been a servant and a slave, but humans had actually been building buildings for 5,000-6,000 years before that. I know that there are some claims that there were buildings from 20,000 BC. I don't know how accurate the timing is. I believe Dala came before humans were real, before humans were alive, when they were Neanderthals, so they were very hairy. They would have been far more like apes, and they didn't speak and stuff. But humans have been around for a very long time. Someone would have been forced or chose to carry all those 500,000 or something, 150,000 or whatever the number was, up that hill to build it. Now, when you are forced into doing, or when you do something like this and then say you die, and then you come back in the ancient Egyptian times, I'm going to be looking at the past, and I'm going to be looking to see who built this, who put the most effort into it, who was the most hardworking, who I'm not saying that the people who built this, whatever this was that they built, I'm not saying that the people who did this were amazing people, but they had worked very hard, and then they achieved and accomplished something. Now, if I was to bring people back to life in Moses' time, I'm going to look to the past, and I'm going to look at the most skilled people that I can find, and I'm going to choose their souls, and I'm going to reincarnate them inside the souls of the wealthy. And okay, the wealthy are going to look to the poor, and the poor, though, are going to be souls that were most likely animals in their past life, hence living their first life as a human. And I would favor the older people. And if you look at it,
It is very surprising. We are very shocked. It is very old.
7,000 years ago, far from being builders on such an epic scale, there's no evidence that the people of this region were anything other than simple hunter-gatherers. What could have motivated them to make the immense effort of bringing all these blocks here?
So I don't know the age, but I know that there were quite a lot of these buildings being built all around the world. And if I were to choose people to be born, I would choose people who have made this. And okay, they might have gone on to be quite horrible people when in the Egyptian time, but the story of Moses is just obviously not true. And I would have, and just because the people at the top that was enslaving people, that doesn't mean that they didn't deserve the position that they were in. If they were once the servants, the people who built this, if their souls were once in a body and they worked really hard and did this, then when they come back, they might have a better technique, which is to use other people to do the building work. But their sculptures got better. Egyptian sculptures are a lot better than this. This obviously failed, so it wasn't good enough. I'm very impressed with buildings in this age, and I think the reason why I'm impressed with this age is because of all the buildings that they have achieved and made in their past life, and over time, these buildings just get more complicated, more structures, more better use of technologies and materials and stuff, and it gets very, very impressive. And just because the people at the top might feel a bit heartless towards the people at the bottom, it doesn't mean that they haven't earned their place. And I feel like I just wanted to say that. I also want to say that I don't know when people are going to start talking to me, but I feel like if I do talk too much about the Moses story, it's just going to frustrate me and anger me how people have worshipped just lies. The God of Moses was fake. It is not real. The stories are not real, and I don't know how this would affect the Muslim community, because I know they see him as a hero. But one possibility is that when you do start talking to me, maybe I should just expose myself on all the different points. So first of all, you say Christ is here in June 13th, and then in July you show my face, and then maybe I can do a speech on July 19th, and then August the 14th, which is exactly 12 years to the day when I first found out that I was Christ. Maybe I can release a film where I explain my history and what I believe is the truth. I was born when Eve, the Bible calls her Eve, but I wouldn't call her Eve, because Eve, my nose is itchy. Eve is a fictional character, and therefore I would want to retell the story, but call her Dala, and just say how I was born into Neanderthals, and this is just the evolution, and I had a child, and then I can actually have a film about it, and then show the progress of what, maybe even do a film where I say that I believe that I went, I don't know, because if we're going to do the face sacrifice, then I can't explain too much. It has to be maybe just do that scene of the sort of Dala scene, and just me explaining that I'm Christ, and this is why I'm Christ, and then just let that settle for a whole year or something, because I don't know how the Muslims are going to take it. There is a lot of Muslims, and I don't support their religion or their beliefs, and it's very inverted, and I don't know how the leaders are going to want to, how they're going to want to cope with it, because they too would have believed these stories, so they wouldn't want to be too insulting towards these people if they too have believed the lies. I think they need to know that everyone has believed lies, and they also need to know that I am very frustrated because I can't get the truth into the world because people are believing the lies. Why would you believe that God is me when you can believe that God can do massive miracles, even though the miracles aren't true? It's best to believe in a real God. But if that real God can't do much, then a lot of people aren't going to want the truth, and that's the problem I'm facing. But yeah, I don't know how it should play out. I want to believe that there's going to be some big build-up where a lot of people get in and get involved, and perhaps there should be. Maybe it should be played in a way where I get all the leaders of the Muslim world to give people an option, to worship the new religion, and there could be a movie that explains the new religion, which is where I'm Christ, and I died and I reincarnated as this life, okay, and then on October the 10th you can expose that I also believe that I'm Aliyah, and you can add that character into it. So it'd be like a film that kind of changes. First of all, it's just but yeah, I still think it's not good to talk about me being God. I don't know why the possibility that God could be a female is just not exposed anywhere. I'm not seeing any like promotion of it or talking about it. I don't know why this is, but I have to believe that things happen for a reason. So I still think that if you want to, because I noticed, I watched a film today, YouTube video where Pope Francis was talking about all his one world religion and uniting it, uniting all the religions under one. I don't know what this has got. I know he's also promoting keep Sunday holy, and I don't understand why would that be important. And does he know that holy means evil and unpredictable and creepy? So I'm confused about what Pope Francis knows, or maybe just people in the Vatican know that Christianity and Catholic is going to be on a massive challenge and it's going to die unless they start uniting. And if all these religions did unite and believed in one God, then I think Hinduism might also change. I don't really know how strong the Hindu belief is, but if there was a lot more unity in the four main religions about this one God, Hinduism might come round and start also believing in the one God. They'll probably call him a male rather than a female like all the others. But yeah, maybe that's the plan. They're going to just try and create this one God, and then expose me as being Christ, and then create this one world religion, whilst knowing that people have 1 year to convert to this one world religion, and then in 2026, summer 2026, start some sort of fake sacrifice. Although I'm going to have to be treated really well over the next for at least a year before I go into that, because I just like the thought of meeting singers and celebrities who've kind of just been bullying me through their songs. Like there's a lot of good songs, but there's also a ton of terrible ones, or ones that just don't make any sense. And I could ask the singers, like, what was the point of this? Like, what were you getting at? I don't know in most of the cases, and maybe they don't know. Maybe they just were given some options and they just chose the song they like. I don't know how or what their reasons are. But I know that there is a lot of people in the Muslim world, and I know that if I just go in there guns blazing, insulting Muhammad and Moses, I will definitely avoid Muhammad, because Muhammad is a real person, and I need to just be respectful of that. But yeah, I feel like if I insult Moses, I'm insulting all four of the religions, and therefore I feel like I can do it. And there's a lot of Christians that don't really believe in Moses. There's a lot of Islamic people that probably don't believe in Moses, that just like the stories and that's it. But yeah, one idea could be to have a documentary where they look at all sorts of people, including people that are atheists, and giving their takes. And I think if the people that were doing the interviews about what their thoughts are on the Moses film, if you create a Moses film that's just links to the facts and what the story says, stop adding in extra bits that didn't happen, or making out that this happened and this happened when it didn't. Just stick to the story, and you get lots of people's takes, and you have like a bit underneath, atheist, Jewish, Muslim, and then you can add my takes into it, and maybe I'll be less rude. Right now I feel like I need to be rude. When I'm watching that documentary, I feel like I need to be very rude about it, because they're all siding against me. They're all siding and promoting this God that's not me, this imaginary God that didn't do things that I did, and it's very... It makes me feel like I'm being attacked by these people, because they're all saying something that I don't agree with. Whereas if you had a bigger range of people, so including atheists, including maybe cultural Christians who just don't believe the story, if you had a bigger range, then I would feel less attacked by the story. So I just want to say that.